How's it going, everyone? This is Musa with Social Dance Mastery. I'm so excited that you're here tuning in and joining us for this workshop. This workshop is all about the journey from On1 to On2 and how that changes everything as a salsa dancer. We're going to cover a lot of things in this workshop, but the main thing that I'm going to offer to you is our On2 Timing Accelerator. And most dancers dance On1. When dancers usually start with salsa, they usually start with On1. On1 has become the standardized time step for salsa nowadays. But there's nothing wrong with On1. There's no criticism against On1. But there's just a truth that dancers who learn On1 and stay there, they usually hit a ceiling when it comes to improving their musicality and their timing within salsa. And social dancing, listening to the music, interpreting the music, there's usually a ceiling that's hit. And the reason why that there's that blockage there is because there hasn't been a competency, there hasn't been an ability to learn the skills of the On2 timing. So On2 timing isn't a harder timing, it isn't a more complicated timing. On2 timing is just a timing that is most synchronistic with salsa music itself, how the instruments are accenting the beats, how the song composition is structured, is more synchronized with On2 timing. Now, I created the On2 Timing Accelerator to help dancers embody timing. And this is what I feel like is left out so much when it comes to timing. A lot of times timing is taught through counting. And this goes against the whole concept of getting that timing into the body so that you don't have to think about it, right? My approach is very unique. I use three main ways to do this that include cultural context, musicality, and body mechanics. And we use all of this in the On2 Salsa Accelerator to really help dancers feel more natural, feel calm, feel embodied within the timing, and most importantly, so that they feel that this timing becomes second nature. This is our goal, ultimate embodiment within timing. It reflects in when you go out dancing, it happens automatically. You don't have to think about it. It becomes second nature. So in this video, I'm gonna break down this approach. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you how you can access the On2 Timing Accelerator at a very good discount through the school community. So let's get right into it. Okay, so to get things started, we're gonna start with a little quiz, okay? And I want you to participate in this quiz, whether it's commenting in the comments or in the chat box or wherever you're seeing this video. Participate with this so you can see where you are, all right? I'm gonna play a video of some dancers that are dancing to some music, right? And all I want you to do is I want you to tell me what timing they're on, right? So here is a list of different timings that you have to choose from, right? And I want you to watch these dancers. I'll play the clip for a little bit. Tell me what timing you think that they're dancing on, all right? And then when we come back, we'll see if you got it correct or not. So I'll start the video now. Listen to the music. If you are wearing Bluetooth headphones, you might want to not use Bluetooth because there's a latency, there's a delay. Try to just listen to the song straight out of your computer or your phone or wherever you're listening. Watch the dancers, see if you can figure out what timing they're on. Here we go.
I just do it for my friends.
Do you do commentary?
I don't know.
Look at that spin. Magnificent. That form.
That is amazing. He doesn't gonna hear you though.
Someone likes to do that.
All right, so let's see. Okay, so let's see what we got. Let's see if you answered this quiz correctly. Don't worry, there's no points being taken off. There's no criticism. This is just gonna show you where you are in this process of learning On2. So I wanna tell you this is a bit of a trick question that I just gave you. Out of all of these timings that are listed here, the timing that they're actually dancing on is not listed in these timings. The answer to this question is they are dancing on 3. And this is very interesting. It's a very interesting thing that happens sometimes. Sometimes dancers do dance on 3. But what this shows us is, whether you got it correct or not, it shows one benefit, one of the main benefits of learning On2 timing. And that benefit is being able to be aware and to identify the timing that a dancer is on. This is so important, whether you're a lead or a follow. Your ability to actually observe a dancer and to see, oh, they're dancing on 1, or oh, they're dancing traditional son timing on 2, or oh, they're dancing modern on 2. Right? The ability to observe and perceive what a dancer's timing is on is so important, is so helpful. It's one of the biggest benefits of learning On2, because this allows you to synchronize with that dancer. This allows you to develop the tension in order to have a good connection with another dancer. When the timing is off, the timing is one of the foundations for the dynamic of that connection. So when the timing is off, your leads are going to be off, your follows are going to be off, your cues are going to be off, the energy of the dance is going to be off. When your timing is connected with another person, you're going to be able to feel that tension that's going to allow you to have a very connected dance, that's going to allow you to have a very harmonious feeling throughout the energy of the song. So that's one of the benefits. Let's go over some other benefits of learning On2 that I've listed right here. All right, so here are some benefits that I listed out when you really get into and really invest and put time into getting the skill of On2 timing. There's a lot of benefits, and it's really important to see the value of what you get when you put in the work to embody the timing of On2 for salsa dancing. We have to remember that one of the first benefits is it helps your foundation as a dancer, right? Because timing is a part of a dancer's foundation. As much moves as you learn, as much styles as you learn, as much choreography as you learn, if there's gaps in your timing, then all of those things that you're putting on top, they're going to be affected. They're going to have some type of a problem or issue or challenge that you're going to go through if you don't have certain timing prerequisites. So that's one of the first things, is learning On2 salsa timing really improves a dancer's foundation. And a dancer's foundation is so important. It's what everything rests upon. When a dancer grows, how a dancer can grow is based on the foundation. It's based on the stability of their foundation. And a lot of times what happens when On2 is being taught, it's taught from an upside down pyramid approach, where you're learning how to count first, or you're learning how to do steps first without understanding the foundational aspects of what On2 timing is. So the next one has to do with coordination. Coordination is so important when it comes to On2 timing. To be able to coordinate in 3 different ways, to be able to coordinate yourself with the music, right? To be able to coordinate your break steps on the second beat, and to coordinate your weight shifts on those specific leading steps, right? To be able to coordinate with the timing of another person, that adds a completely new element when you're comparing your timing and another person's timing, and gathering that synchronization between each other and creating that dynamic. That's also a form of coordination. And the last coordination is the coordination just within yourself, the coordination within your own body dynamic, within your own posture, form, and structure. These three ways of coordinating is all what we're going to be getting into when it comes to On2 timing. Another benefit is awareness. We already went over that benefit. When it comes to being aware of what a dancer is on, what their timing is, what their actual timing is, and to know what timing you're on. You'd be surprised, a lot of dancers don't even know what timing they're dancing on, right? They just sort of wing it, or they're not really aware or conscious of the fact that they might be on one, they might be on two, but they're switching back to one. They're not really set on one time steps. It might be kind of wavy. They might not even be aware of if their feet are hitting certain beats. So this is why awareness is so important, to be able to have that consciousness to know what you're dancing on and what another person's dancing on. It helps so much. One of the next benefits is versatility. Versatility when it comes to social dancing is the concept of being able to dance with anyone, right? Being able to dance with anyone, not in the sense of any type of dancer, but in the sense of any skill level of dancer too. Being able to dance with a professional dancer, being able to dance with a beginner, being able to dance with an intermediate and advanced dancer. This opens up so many doors when you're able to have that timing. You're able to have choices, right? As opposed to if you only have on one, then you're really only able to dance with on one dancers harmoniously. When you're on one and you dance with an on two dancer, you're gonna not know what you're doing. You're gonna feel like it's a little awkward, or it's gonna be a little rough. So when you're able to have the ability to have both timings, the doors that opens up for you to be able to dance with other dancers, but not only that, to be able to dance to other kinds of music. All the different subgenres of salsa have different timings, whether it's timba, right, where you're dancing on one, but you might switch into contratiempo, you might switch into 6/8 timing, you might switch into rumba, right? Then you have the different kinds of subgenres of salsa, such as salsa romántica, salsa dura, salsa de Cali, salsa son, cha cha. All of these different subgenres have different timings that are appropriate for those type of songs, right? So you'll be able to dance with as many different people as you would like to choose, and whatever song comes on, you'll be able to connect with the timing of that song, right? And then the last main benefit is expression. Our ability to interpret the music with our bodies, it really comes out of our timing. Timing is a very important aspect of being able to improvise, being able to interpret the music that's on. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions about timing is that it feels so restrictive, right? People think that, oh, I have to dance on this one timing all the time. I feel like I'm in a cage. I feel like I can't. But actually, that's not the case. What it actually is that timing creates the framework for which expression can break through, right? That timing creates that stable and solid base so that we can express and flourish to the best of our ability. So basically, there's a difference between somebody who improvises and knows the rules as opposed to somebody who doesn't know the rules and just does whatever they want. When this happens, when you're able to have this timing, this gives you actually a better sense of freedom because you know where the framework is. So you know how to move out of the framework, you know how to bend the rules, and you know how to come back to the framework. And this allows for the best improvisation, the best musical interpretation and expression that can happen within a dance. So let's move on to this other concept that I'd love to share when it comes to On2 timing. It's a metaphor that just works so well to get people to understand why On2 timing is so important to learn, as well as on one timing. So this is a metaphor that I use a lot when teaching dancers On2 and getting them excited to learn about On2. And the metaphor has to do with driving. So this metaphor only works if you drive, but if you don't drive, I think you can understand sort of what this means. And when it comes to automatic and manual cars, right? So a lot of people know how to drive an automatic car, right? It's very easy. You don't have to think about too much. Everything's set for you, and this is the standardized way that people drive. So automatic is our on-one timing, right? Now, when we get into our manual cars, we have to learn a little bit about how the clutch works. We have to learn a little bit about how to move different things and have a little bit more coordination, have a little bit more multitasking going on. We have to know about the gears, how to shift gears, how to downshift, and all of these other things. And that's where we get into manual driving. Our manual mode is going to be our On2. Now, the thing is, people can go their whole life just knowing how to drive an automatic car, right? If they only have an automatic car. But what happens when there's a situation where you get into a car and it's manual? If you've never learned how to do that, then you won't be able to drive that car, or it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of mistakes in order to get that car moving in a smooth and harmonious way. So this is why when I teach dancers, when it comes to On1 and On2, I don't start with On1 first. I start with On2, right? I get dancers getting used to the clutch, getting used to shifting gears in a manual way, right? And that way, whenever you find yourself in a situation where there's a manual car, you can drive it. And then on top of that, you can drive the automatic car. So now you have options on whatever car you want to drive. You know that you'll be able to drive it. And this is the feeling, this is the sensation that you get when you learn On2. When you walk into a dance social, when you do a performance or something, if you have that ability, if you have that skill of On2, it gives you that empowerment to be able to step into any song, to be able to step and dance with any partner. And this is what's so powerful when it comes to that, when it comes to really embodying that On2 timing. So now let's get into my method, my unique approach to helping dancers embody On2 timing. And the reason why my approach is so effective is because it's integrative. Now, I say that because anytime you go into a modern On2 salsa dance class or lesson, or if somebody's saying, hey, I'm going to teach you On2, what they usually start doing first is they'll start counting. Second is they'll start showing you steps. Now, in my method, counting and showing steps is actually the last thing you do, right? There's so much more prerequisites that are involved before counting numbers, before stepping steps. And this is why my approach really helps dancers when it comes to embodying On2. Because what usually happens is, if you learn in the standardized way that On2 is taught right now, usually what happens is you'll learn in the class, and then when you get into the social, when it's time to apply what you've learned, you'll forget all of it. Or it just doesn't seem like it makes sense, or it's not fitting, or something's not working. That's what happens when you start to learn from that upside down pyramid approach, right? Learning with numbers first before embodiment. Learning steps before understanding the context, right? So in my approach, we break it down in three main ways. The first way is the cultural context of On2. For the cultural context of On2, this is where we really understand why are we dancing On2 and what does that mean? What is the significance of On2? How has On2 evolved throughout time? What are the different kinds of On2? This is so important to be able to know and to have that understanding of that cultural context of why On2 even exists, right? The second stage is musicality, right? We really want to get into the mindset of the musicians, because when we're talking about On2, we're actually talking about a musical concept. We're talking about music theory. So when it comes to musicality, we want to break down, how does On2 work within a musician's mind, right? And our bodies, as the dancers, our bodies are our musical instruments, right? So we do have to have that understanding of how a musician thinks about it, right? And what On2 means when it comes to using our body as a musical instrument. The last part has to do with body mechanics. And this is where it comes to the steps and the numbers, right? So this three approach, cultural context, musicality, and body mechanics, all of these combined is what creates the essence of embodiment for a salsa dancer when they're learning On2. Let's dive in deeper into each one so you can really see what we go into and what are the specifics of each one of these stages. Okay, let's get into the first stage, which is the cultural context of On2. And this is the one that's usually always left out in dance classes. When people teach On2, they usually leave this out. And I always wonder why they do this, because it's so important to understand the cultural context behind why people dance to in the first place. And it's also important because there's not just one kind of On2. There's an evolution of On2. And when you understand that evolution from where it started to where it is now, then you're able to identify it when it comes on at a social, right? So one of the main ways that we get into cultural context is we go through the full evolution of how we got to the On2 that we have today. One of the first kinds of On2 is the traditional contratiempo On2. And this includes the dances such as the contradanza, the danzón, the son, and Cha Chá, right? These are dances that have a particular kind of On2 that's different from when we get into the New York On2, right? The New York On2 during the Palladium era in New York in the 50s, around that time, with the big bands, Tito Puente, Tito Rodriguez, Machito and su Afro-Cubans, and all of those types of sound. The big band, when Afro-Cuban jazz was starting to form, that type of On2. And then we get into more of the modern On2. This is when we get into the salsa romantica. This is where we get into some of the songs that are starting to play now, and the style of On2 that's starting to be danced now is our modern On2. So within our cultural context, we go through that story. We go through the evolution of On2 when it comes to the evolution of the music, when it comes through to the evolution of the dances and how the dances shift and form into different styles. For example, how there's more of a lateral style within some of the more traditional On2 styles, as opposed to a more linear style when it comes to the New York On2, and some of the other styles that are more open when it opens up, when it comes to more of the modern two, and how break steps are done and why those shifts happen and how we get to the style of On2 that we have today. There's stories behind all of this, and this is what the cultural context really brings to the light. So now the next stage is musicality, and this is where we really get into the mind of a musician. We start thinking like a musician as we dance. And this is so important because there's a lot of music theory concepts that are so important for us dancers to be able to understand and to be able to embody in order to connect and interpret the music in a completely different way, on a new level. And this happens when we understand these musical concepts, these theory concepts. You would be surprised, a lot of people don't know a lot about some of these concepts, such as what a musical measure is and what the difference between a musician's measure and a dancer's measure is, especially when it comes to salsa. For example, a musician might count the measure to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm repeating that loop, and each loop that I repeat is one measure. But because a salsa dancer's basic encompasses 2 measures, we'll count that measure all the way to 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, in order to encapsulate our front break, our center, and our back break. That's a full basic, right? This is one of the concepts about musical measure that's so important to understand, because when we understand the musical measure, we understand the concept of pulse. That loop that happens over and over again is a certain type of pulse that is being expressed within salsa music within each instrument. And each instrument has their specific way on how they pulse through that song. And those pulses are interlocking with each other to create the feel and the essence of salsa music. And this is actually called a rhythmic tumbao. A rhythmic tumbao is a certain rhythmic looping pattern that each instrument has. Each instrument has a voice. So the bass will have a rhythmic loop, right? The conga drum will have a rhythmic loop. The bell will have a rhythmic loop. The guitar will have a rhythmic loop. The piano will have a rhythmic loop. And if you're able to tune into these different instrumental tumbaos, this gives you a lot of information already. It gives you information about the tempo of the song. It gives you information about the feel, the pulse of the song. It gives you information about the rhythmic meter of the song. It gives you so much information just in being able to tune your ears to these rhythmic tumbaos. Now, on top of this, we have a lot of musical concepts and music theory that is mixed with European and African influences. When it comes to the African influences of music theory within salsa music, we get concepts such as call and response and syncopation, polyrhythm. These are all the type of things that we go through in our On2 Timing Accelerator to really understand how these musical theory concepts work and how we can tune into them and start to play with them and start to embody these concepts. When it comes to call and response, we really get into the song structure. When it gets to the montuno section, which is the chorus of salsa, we see that call and response interaction. And as dancers, we can start to interpret that with our movement. One of the main African music theory concepts that is involved in salsa music is the concept of the clave. The clave is so important to understand, and it's something that allows all the instruments to be able to interweave together in a harmonious fashion. The clave gives us that rhythmic key that allows everything to sync together so harmoniously. So as dancers, we really have to be aware of the clave, just like how musicians have to be aware of the clave when they're playing with other people. Remember, each instrument has their own specific tumbao, or their own specific voice, or their own specific way that they walk through the measure, right? That's what a tumbao is. Now, if everyone's walking however they want, you're gonna have sounds and rhythms that clash. The clave allows everything to happen so everyone can be in the same measure and not clash. They can feed off of each other. They can play in between each other. And that's also a concept of syncopation, playing between, interlocking upbeats and downbeats, accenting certain beats and not accenting other beats. All of this is important when it comes to that music theory. Now, some of the more European types of music theory when it comes to this comes to time signature, knowing whether a song is in 4/4 time, 2/4 time, 6/8 time. There's a lot of different types of timing that correspond to how that song is gonna feel, what the pulse is gonna feel like for that song. For example, when it comes to timba, you'll have a lot of different time signature changes that can happen in one song. To be able to tune your ear to that and adjust your body movement to that will allow you to interpret that song on a completely new level. There's also the concept of note values. Note values are so important when it comes to being able to count correctly, knowing your quarter notes, knowing your eighth notes and everything, and knowing where they stand and how to count them as the song is playing in real time. So these are all musician concepts, concepts such as note values, time signature, measure, clave, syncopation. These are all musician concepts, but when it comes to dancers, it really helps the dancers to be able to speak the language of the musicians too, right? Because this allows us to connect with the very people who are composing and arranging and structuring the music that we're dancing to. So it's important, it's very important that we be able to have that dialogue with the musicians to know how they're talking about, how they're perceiving, how they're conceptualizing the music as well, and to be able to get into that language. Just as it's important for those musicians to be able to speak the language of the dancers, the musicians also are feeding off of the dancers. They're looking at the dancers, they're seeing if the dancers have that energy, if they're connecting with the song's changes and different structures. So these two things are going to be a very important dialogue when it comes to the musicality aspect of learning Salsa On2. So now we get to the last stage, which is body mechanics. And body mechanics is where we get to our actual steps. So you see how the progression of how this forms, right? We don't just start at steps. There's other prerequisites that are required before the steps. But once we get to steps, we should already have our musicality set in place. We should have our ears tuned to the music theory that's being used within salsa music. And we know why we're stepping the timing that we're stepping and why it makes sense for the songs that are being played. Now, when it comes to the body mechanics, we really get into our body movement, making sure that our body movement is aligned with the certain types of steps that we're taking. For example, there's different body movements for different timings as well. For example, son has a different body movement than danson, which was before the son. Danson has a very closed frame, not a lot of hip isolation. When we get to son, we really see that frame opening up and we see more isolation in the body. Now, when it comes to going into more salsa, you can see that some of the movement changes from lateral to linear. And then we also get, when it comes to casino, we get more circular movement when it comes to our body movement. And also when it comes to our time steps, specifically, we talk about break steps and leading steps. These are very important concepts to really understand. Most people, when they teach On2, they only teach the break step. And the break step is the moment of coordination where when you step outside of your center, you take that first step with your partner, that step is called the break step. And if you're dancing on two, that step will land on the second beat. When it comes to the full two measures, right, from 1 to 8, those break steps will be on 2 and 6, right? So if I count that out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On the 2 and the 6, that's when I should be breaking my break steps forward or back, right? Now, what people don't talk about is the leading steps. The leading steps is everything that happens before that 2 and everything that happens before that 6. And if you really break that down, what's actually happening is a weight shift. There's a weight shift that's happening before that leads that break step onto the second beat or the sixth beat, right? And that's called the leading step. The leading steps are so important to be able to understand because this is what you're gonna use when you go out social dancing. You're gonna use that leading step as a cue to get into your break steps, right? If you just take a break step, it could be very sudden or it won't be able to feel that energy that leads into the step to make it more smooth and natural. So this is what we do with that. Now, when it comes to the mechanics of these steps, this is where we figure out where our leading steps are and on what numbers the leading steps are, and how to connect those numbers to the instrumental tumbaos. And this is going to help us, our musicality knowledge is going to help us with this, because we'll be able to hear where the clave is telling us to step. We'll be able to hear when the bass tumbao is telling us to lead into the break step. We'll be able to hear the two tones of the conga tumbao telling us to do the cha-cha-cha shuffle within that step. So you can see how the knowledge of our musicality is going to help us when it comes to really embodying the actual steps of On2 timing. Another thing when it comes to the steps is knowing all of the main different types of On2 timings there are. Because one of the biggest misconceptions is that there's only one type of On2 timing. There are several different types of On2 timing. There's the On2 traditional timing, which is son, cha-cha-cha. There is the New York On2 timing, right, from the Palladium era. Then there is the modern On2 timing. So there are at least 3 different types of On2 timings that you can do. There are more, but there are at least 3. And to know and to be able to distinguish between each one and know how to actually do that in your body in coordination with the music, in coordination with the cultural context of the song, what type of song or genre it is, this all comes together and it makes it a full package of embodied timing. Okay, so now as we start to wrap all of this information up and integrate and process all this information, one of the biggest questions is, how do I apply On2 timing in real life? Like when I go out social dancing, when I'm doing a performance or wherever you are, how do you apply this information? Well, there's a lot of ways to apply On2 timing. I'm going to talk about 2 ways here. One of the first ways is genre identification, right? When you understand On2 timing, you're able to listen to and tune your ears and know about all the different types of genres that come on when it comes to salsa dancing at a salsa social or at a performance, or if you're picking songs for a show, you can know that there's different types of salsa and what they sound like, what are the nuances of these different types of salsas that exist, right? There's many different kinds of salsas that are out there. Specifically, some of the main ones are timba, you have mambo, you have all the different subgenres of salsa, salsa romantica, salsa dura, salsa from different countries. You have cha-cha-cha, you have son, you have all of these different styles. So when you go out, one of the ways that this is going to help you, that you're going to apply this knowledge, is when songs come on, you're going to be able to identify what type of song that is instantly. And what that's going to do is that's going to trigger your body. This is the automation that's going to happen after you take this accelerator, this On2 Timing Accelerator. This is the automation that we're conditioning our bodies to have so that we can bring this timing into second nature. When a song comes on, you're going to be like, oh, that's son, or oh, this is timba, or oh, this is son montuno, or oh, that's a cha-cha-cha, or oh, that's a mambo, right? This song identification is so important, and it really helps your musicality as an On2 salsa dancer. The next type of application is partner synchronization. The ability to connect with your partner is going to be essential for knowing On2 timing. You'll be able to go in between timings if you need to. You'll be able to adjust your timing if you need to. You'll be able to identify the timing of another person if you need to. All of this is going to help in real time when you go out social dancing, or if you're dancing to a song that you don't know and you're dancing with somebody that you don't know. If you're able to tune into these things, you'll be able to instantly adjust to create that synchronization and connection necessary to maintain a harmonious dynamic. And all of this is happening second nature. All of this is happening effortlessly, and all of this is happening in flow when you really go through the process of the On2 Salsa Accelerator. So let's just talk a little bit about this accelerator that's coming up. I hope everybody can join this accelerator. If you become a premium member of our school community, Social Dance Mastery, you get over 80% off of this accelerator. So I really encourage everybody to become a member, really invest in your education in On2 dancing. If you're passionate about salsa, if you see the value in that, this is a tool that will be able to help you so much. And what we offer are all the resources that will allow you to get embodiment, and it will allow you to bring On2 timing into second nature. We provide a bunch of playlists, we provide videos, we provide feedback, we provide all types of content that can help you understand through the different stages, cultural context, musicality, and body mechanics in an integrative way that really helps you to become the dancer and to become full, very well-rounded dancer, and to grow yourself from the foundation up, right? Not the upside down pyramid approach, but actually the pyramid that has a stable foundation, so that whatever you put on it, whatever styles, choreographies, or moves that you put on it, you're gonna have that foundation of excellent timing embodied in second nature. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to this workshop. We're gonna have some time, if anybody has any questions, put it in the chat, and I just hope everybody can make it for our On2 Timing Accelerator. I'll put all the information below, and this is your opportunity to really get this integrated. No one is really teaching On2 in this way, and when you really start to see the benefits and effects of learning salsa timing in this structure, you're gonna really see the value. You're gonna really experience firsthand what this really means and how you can use it in your experience and in your movement journey as a salsa dancer. So thanks again. My name is Musa with Social Dance Mastery, and we'll see you soon.